This is the Secular Nation Podcast, an official production of the Atheist Alliance of America, bringing you breaking news and stories about the intersection of the atheist free thought movement and government action. Here are your hosts, Justin Clark and Jeremy Casey. Hey everybody, this is Secular Nation. I am your host, Justin Clark. And I'm here with my co-host, Jeremy Casey. How's it going, sir?
It's going good. How's it going with you?
Not too bad. Last week we did a lot of stuff about national news, but there's a lot of things that go on locally that we need to kind of educate people about as well. So this episode this week is devoted to local church-state issues. And so our first story tonight actually comes via the FFRF, the Freedom from Religion Foundation. They've been doing a sort of months-long case with a New Jersey court trying to get rid of this public funding for a church restoration. So the article is entitled, "Court Fails to Uphold New Jersey Bar on Church Funding in FFRF Case." A New Jersey state court has decided that tax dollars can be utilized to repair or maintain churches despite a state constitutional provision barring such use. The actual state constitution provision, they quote it later on in the article. So it's from Article 1, Paragraph 3 of the New Jersey Constitution. It says, quote, that guarantees, quote, "Nor shall any person be obliged to pay any tithes, taxes, or other rates for building or repairing any church or churches, place or places of worship, or for the maintenance of any minister or ministry contrary to what he believes to be right." So it's pretty clear. Now, what the judge did in this case was say, well, these funds are not really restoration funds. They're more like educational funds. And so it's trying to sort of rework a church as being a educational organization in some respects or another. But the problem is that it's really kind of flimsy language. And so they did end up upholding that decision for the churches. It's probably going to go to the New Jersey Court of Appeals. It will likely be overturned in the New Jersey Court of Appeals because the language in the state constitution is so strong. But again, this is another just sort of gross violation of the separation of church and state here. So.
And they, I believe they were trying to use the, the historic preservation funds.
Yeah.
To argue that the church should receive the churches should receive some of these funds as historic and educational kind of areas. Obviously, churches are already tax exempt. Churches do not have to pay property tax, and that is under the guise that they're doing so much community outreach that what would be used for tax dollars for the public good are already being done by the church just by virtue of their existence. So I mean, they're already tax exempt, so they're not paying into the community.
Yeah. And
now we're gonna give them money to help them keep their church up. Is that because their tithes are going down? Like, I mean, that's your fault. That's your fault, church.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And there's a great quote from like Benjamin Franklin, and I'm probably going to paraphrase here, but it's something along the lines of like, if a church can't support itself, then it shouldn't exist.
Exactly.
Which I also agree with. The whole point of the separation of church and state is that we're giving you, as an institution, we're giving you a tax break in order for you to have the resources to be able to do what you're doing. That's the whole point of nonprofits and church organizations getting a tax exempt status, because they are taking the place, they're doing a role that the government can't do. And so the government says, we're okay with you.
They say they're doing that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we live in a community where there's a church on every corner, and there's still problems with homelessness. They do community dinners for people who are in low-income areas, but just internal knowledge of our working, most of them are scheduled on Wednesday night. So, we have probably hundreds of churches in this one town we live in where, 80% of the churches are doing their community dinners, which is a great free dinner for people of lower income. Anybody can come in. Supposedly anybody come in. I don't know each individual church's way they enact that, but they're all doing it on the same fucking night, okay? Like, how about you split it up for there's a Monday, a Tuesday, a Wednesday, a Thursday, a Friday? I just, there's so much hypocrisy in what you're doing and what you just want to do to make yourself feel good.
For sure.
And a lot of the money that gets into a church will go out of the community to international relief efforts, which have no oversight. which have, in my opinion, it's just, hey, let's send some of our church folk out to an area with some nice photo ops so we can all feel good about our Christian outreach internationally. Like, are you saving one community, or how many communities could you save if you pooled your resources together and did this as an organizational effort? But that also comes into the fact that you're taking that money out to international outreach when it should be a community to justify the fact that you're not paying taxes. I feel like there should be at least a regulation on how much money you put back into your community for not getting taxes. And if you as a church don't reach that, then I don't think you should be tax exempt. That gets into some iffy stuff with religious, the constitutional barment from government and religion being together. So I understand why you wouldn't have regulations like that, but I also don't understand why they're not fucking getting taxed.
Yeah, and the thing about the New Jersey Constitution is that it is it's an extremely specific provision about churches. The First Amendment is purposefully vague about religious funding. Like, there's never any really reference to religious funding of any kind. It's just, there shall be no law respecting the establishment of religion or the free exercise thereof. Like, it's very broad for a good reason, right? Because the details can be hashed out in states and in local areas. That's exactly what federalism is supposed to do, and I agree with that. But the problem is that when a state constitution explicitly says you cannot use public money to renovate and to maintain churches, and then you go and do that anyway, that is it just flies in the face of logic. I mean, it just says it's clear in the Constitution of New Jersey, you cannot do this.
Right.
And then they do it anyway.
And what does subsidizing that do? It allows churches to buy more property in the city, to tax haven out more funds from property taxes. I mean, it just opens the door to an increasing power of one religion, because dominant in that region is going to be Christian churches. If you take a look at the square footage of church property and communities, compared to what private businesses and private individuals have to pay on their property taxes. I mean, there's communities in here where you probably have half square footage in the hands of Christian churches. You don't get the same funding for Muslim. You don't get the same kind of deferment to Muslim centers.
Yeah.
You don't get the same deferment to religions of all sort. You don't get the same to secular organizations. It's just fucked up.
No, I totally agree. And I've been watching the Leah Remini docuseries in A&E about Scientology. And my first thought was, like, one of the ways that Scientology maintains its tax exempt status is by buying a bunch of real estate, right? And so I could imagine, like, the New Jersey org, which is what they call churches in Scientology, I could see them, like, trying to take advantage of this precedent if it's set by the courts.
Exactly.
Because nobody's going into Scientology orgs these days. Like, nobody is. Like,
they're empty. They're ghost.
They're ghost towns.
Yeah, I saw that episode.
Like, nobody goes into them. So that's a way for the church to get cheap, easy money and to try to profit off of the citizens of New Jersey. Because, again, the thing...
Who wants the precedent that Scientologies now get tax exempt status on the property they're stealing, but also maybe they'll get some funds from the tax dollars so that they can renovate their unused buildings.
Exactly. Let's flip the script, right? So this is exactly why people... Because you can imagine some Christians being like, oh, that's horrible. Like, oh, what the hell could they do that? Well, that's what you're doing.
Exactly. Yep. You set it up.
So, anyway, we're going to move on to our next story. This comes to us via the Raw story. This is by David Edwards. Kentucky GOP files new abortion ban. The only choice women have is to conceive or not conceive. So that is a quote from Kentucky State Representative Robert Stivers, who said that. He said, for the first time in 95 years, Republicans took total control over the Kentucky state government this week and immediately moved to strip rights from women and workers, according to the Courier Journal. A 20-week abortion ban is one of the first 11 bills being considered by the GOP-controlled legislature. Republican Senate President Robert Stivers told reporters on Tuesday that women relinquished their reproductive choice, quote-unquote, by getting pregnant in the first place. Stivers said that a woman had a, quote, choice early on to make a decision to conceive or not conceive. ACLU Kentucky spokesperson Amber Duke told the Courier-Journal, quote, "We believe that women deserve dignity and should have the right to make personal and private medical decisions without interference from politicians." So the war on women
has begun. I mean,
has been raging pretty steadily since 2010.
Oh yeah, I mean definitely, but it's in full swing now. I think boots on the ground is what's happening at this point.
Yeah, we had a no-fly zone before.
Yeah. I mean, this is obviously just a way for Republicans to control, their sexual morality views on women. There's no other way around it. Because I think in a perfect society that there probably wouldn't be a lot of abortions because we had proper education, we'd have free and open access to birth control. We wouldn't have our vice. I think it was Mike Pence who said that IEDs should not be funded by federal dollars in any way because it's a de facto abortion, which harkens back to the Catholic ideas that condoms are abortions.
Yeah, well, and that reminds me of the Hobby Lobby versus Burwell decision in 2014 about quote-unquote...
IUDs. IEDs are totally explosive devices. Sorry about that.
Yeah, whoa. That's explosive for whole other reasons. About what religious organizations deem what they call abortifacients, which there are birth control devices and medicines that are quote unquote abortifacients. That's what like the morning after pill is, right? Mm-hmm. And so, but their definition of what is an abortifacient is far broader than anything else. I mean, Mike Pence also said condoms are not very modern or something like that. I mean, he's a fucking idiot.
And this is the whole point of starting with 20-week bans and moving the foot lines and, what is the definition of life? Do we define it at a heartbeat? If medical advances, if it's viable outside of the womb, is that a life? That argument's going to continually advance to the 0 day when you can just take the zygote out and put it into a test tube and it's a viable fucking baby. Okay, you can't legislate based off of that and not have a situation where you're putting women who miscarry into jail, where you're forcing, they're already trying to force women who have miscarriages, not even abortions, miscarriages, to pay for the funeral expenses to have a funeral for that fetus. Okay, but women have the choice to do that, but you can't force them as a punishment for having your only choice now is to conceive or not to conceive.
Yeah.
Barring rape and other situations where there was no choice.
You're right. And the thing about sort of this particular law with 20 weeks, right? So 20 weeks is what? Was it five months?
Yeah, 5 months.
Okay. So the thing that people need to keep in mind is like this is actually much farther, much more forgiving than other laws. Mm-hmm. I mean, some laws are as early as like 12 weeks or 16 weeks around the country.
I think I saw one that was like 8 weeks.
Yeah, which some women don't even know they're pregnant at that point.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, right? So like you confuse it to the point. And we've already seen, constant new laws that bar abortion clinics from continuing to exist because of all these extra regulations. Which is funny because Republicans always talk about how much they hate regulations, but then they regulate abortion clinics to death. Oh, yeah. But again, this is another piece of theocracy. It's another piece of Christian fundamentalists forcing their morality on other people. And my hope is that there is a growing disgust about this.
Yeah.
And if you've seen all of the people who donated to Planned Parenthood after the election in Mike Pence's name and all kinds of things, I think there is starting to get some pushback, and the goal is, this is just some advice for our listeners, and our listeners are very smart people generally, so here's my advice to you. Pay attention to local issues. They really matter, especially in like your local community or your state, because here's the thing. Most of what the federal government does doesn't really touch you on a day-to-day basis, but the shit that state legislators do does. So I would say definitely pay attention to what's going on in your neck of the woods, which we've got a story about our neck of the woods coming later.
Yeah. And it sets the precedent at each local victory for the anti-abortion people, the religious theocrats.
Absolutely.
That then staggers into federal policy and makes it even more impossible for communities who want to opt out of religiously backward concepts on conception, on pregnancy, on women's rights. The field goal, the posts get moved back farther and farther by each victory that a local municipality or a state wins.
Exactly, which is why, the Supreme Court doesn't have to overturn Roe v. Wade to do what they want. Mm-hmm. They can just sort of legislate Roe v. Wade into obsolescence. I mean, they're doing that they're actively doing that.
And these are the types of situations that you can move the goalpost on, like Citizens United cannot be, you can fight against that on state and local levels without the Supreme Court knocking it down. What the Republicans use great strategies to enact their beliefs, and we can learn those strategies.
I agree,
and use them for things that will actually progress society.
I totally agree.
Pay attention to what's happening in your local and your state levels, and then model successful campaigns for things that actually matter and will actually improve society as a whole.
Which is ironic because the modern conservative movement was basically built on tactics that were essentially used by communists.
Oh yeah,
it was really funny. Like the Trotskyites, like sort of the political maneuverings and organizational styles of the sort of the far left in the 1910s and 20s and 30s, like became the same tools that the modern conservative movement used, and now we have to pull it back from them. It's all coming full circle.
They love Russia now. So
they do love Russia now.
I can't wait until it's all flip flopped and the Democrats start yelling communism and socialism at the Republicans, and they're like, well, Putin's got some good ideas. He's a really smart guy. He's a really smart guy, guys. I don't, he accused KGB, but have we ever really got out of the Cold War? These are good tactics, guys. The Republicans nowadays.
It is true. It's
bizarre
true.
world.
I mean, we do live in a society right now where more Republicans who voted for Donald Trump
have a favorable opinion.
Have a more favorable opinion of Vladimir Putin than they do of our own president, Barack Obama. So, anyway. Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff. So yeah, pay attention to local issues, and we're going to move on to another local issue going on. This is sort of a age-old question in church-state land about how you deal with religious displays on public property. This was kind of the thing we sort of talked around in the first story today, but this comes to us from the Gig Harbor Life, which is a newspaper out of Washington State. Parks Commission ponders issues of religious displays. At the first meeting of the new year, the Gig Harbor Parks Commission tackled the issue of private static displays on city-owned property. It's a controversy that's been stewing since mid-November, when the city received a letter from the Wisconsin-based Freedom from Religion Foundation threatening to sue the city over the permanent placement of a nativity scene beneath the city's Christmas tree. The letter said in part that because the city has no permit process regarding displays erected by private citizens on city-owned property, the presence of the nativity scene, quote, sends the unconstitutional message that the city endorses Christianity. And so this was originally sort of debated by the city council, and then the city council ended up passing it off to the Parks Commission, and now the Parks Commission is putting together their own sort of interpretation and trying to send a full report to the city council to then eventually take a vote. Some of the things that they've tried to do is just getting rid of the religious displays on public property altogether, which is, I think, the ideal. Another one was having sort of a lottery system for certain parts of the year, which is, I know, something they tried to do in, I believe, either North or South Carolina with a religious display of flags by a Vietnam, like a veterans memorial. Or that they were to do like a one day a year, but they would do like a multicultural day, or it was a bunch of all their different shit all there.
It was like crafts day.
It's like crafts day.
Come build your display at the government.
It
who wants religious displays at government buildings? Government buildings are court. You're going to court. You're paying fines. I mean, I just don't understand why you would want a religious display on a government building.
Maybe this is the thing. Maybe they're like, I don't have my money right now. I'm gonna let Jesus take the wheel on this parking ticket.
That's right. No doubt. It's that the prosperity gospel type stuff, you know.
It is. I'm gonna let Jesus help me with my speeding ticket.
Yeah.
The Lord. I was just taken over by the Lord, And I just was going too goddamn fast.
I was listening to that Carrie, I forgot her name. What's her name?
Carrie Underwood?
Yeah. I was listening to Carrie Underwood, I was going 60 down
I was listening...
the highway, just closed my eyes, and I made it here.
I was listening to Chuck Colson. He got my blood all boiling. Mm-hmm. All these damned atheists taking away my rights. I ended up going too fast, but I don't have my money. Done spent my money on lotto tickets. And
I really do not understand what this fight is about. When I go to the courthouse, when I go to the town, the city hall, I just want to get my business done.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't need to, you're not going to sit there and pray. Who is sitting outside that nativity scene and, really thinking about God? Go to your fucking church, okay? Also, nativity scenes, in general, don't make any sense to me. Because from what I heard, the wise men were not at the birth of Christ. They came a couple days later. They gave gifts after the birth. It doesn't make any fucking sense from your own historical perspective. And you want to, in government, until I start seeing mass crowds of people praying at the nativity at the city hall, and I'm just there's no argument for this at all.
Well, and this was also another big issue too, because I think here in Indiana, where we live, there was, I think it was in either Johnson County or it was in Jasper County. I think it was in Jasper County, where there was a Christmas tree on public land, and there was a cross on top, and the FFRF contacted them and was like, "Hey, tree's okay. The cross is not. You got to take the cross off." Well, apparently people got all pissed off because they thought that the tree was going to go away altogether, which I wouldn't necessarily be against either.
Me neither. That's some pagan shit.
It's some pagan shit, right? But if you're gonna try to do a compromise, at least get rid of the cross.
Right.
And then the FFRF threatened to litigate them, which they should have. And then they did end up taking the cross off.
The cross is already, the star on a tree is already the religious, symbol of it. Who started putting crosses on tops of trees? Keep your crosses in your nativity scenes or on your fucking wall.
Yeah.
Why do we have to combine all this shit?
Or why don't you just put your goddamn Christmas tree or nativity scene on the 800 fucking churches in a local town?
Yeah.
Why does it have to be on public property? Again, this is theocracy. They want privileges. They don't want rights. They want special goodies and privileges.
And they get super mad when the Satanists put up their Behemoth, however you pronounce that.
The big goat-looking fucker.
Yeah, the big goat-looking fucker, And which I think it's funny because it's mainly just a fuck you to Christians, but I also don't want big goat fuckers on government property.
I don't either.
Okay, I don't want any of that shit because I'm going there to pay fucking fines.
I'm there to go to. I'm not going to be saved.
Yeah, and
I'm there going to get pay my speeding ticket.
I don't care if the fucking receptionist at the city hall has a little cross under her fucking desk. That she. I don't give a shit about that. Okay, just don't put it outside. For who to see? I don't know. Nobody, because they're at their fucking church.
I agree.
Aren't church people not even supposed to be going? Are they supposed to be obeying the laws?
Well,
I think there's a verse about that.
Well, what is it? Even
if you're paying a fine, isn't it a sin?
Well, the ironic thing is always
the laws of man are the same as the law of whatever.
Well, the thing that's funny is well, first off, they're not following the whole render unto Caesar what is Caesar's, render unto God what is God's. They're not following that too. The whole thing about the Ten Commandments, the irony of when they put 10 Commandments displays is that one of the 10 Commandments is that thou shalt not worship graven images.
Oh yeah.
And false idols.
Yeah. Nativity scene, worshiping the cross, the crucifix, which is really fucked up when they start putting crucifixes like bloody Jesus. You know what I mean? At least you're being honest about your symbols, but
it's definitely not safe for work. But
if you've ever seen It's Always Sunny, the having the crucifix as opposed to just a cross debate between Charlie and Mac is great television.
It's pretty great. Well, speaking of King of Kings, we're going to move on to our final story, to another king in his own right. Elvis Presley, the great musician who I really love, has over many, many years had Elvis impersonators. But not every Elvis impersonator has also been an Indiana state representative who just so happens to want to pass a bill against trans people. Oh. So this is an article from Nuvo, which is a local publication in Indianapolis. State Rep Borders courts needless controversy with birth certificate bill. A bill proposed today in the Indiana House would directly affect transgender persons born in Indiana. This morning, Representative Bruce Borders filed House Bill 1361, which would prohibit any change on a birth certificate and the permanent birth record of the gender of an individual. I highly recommend you look up his official state legislature portrait. It's fucking hilarious.
Oh, that's some nice hair. Man.
You don't really also get to see his sweet sideburns in this, because obviously he's an Elvis impersonator.
Have he ever dressed up like while in the house or the...
Apparently he has before. He never did when I was the intern there.
Okay.
But he has done that before.
Okay.
So what this law does is it says that if... Right now, here in Indiana, if you want to change your gender on your birth certificate, you need a court order to do it, but you can do it. It's not that big a deal. What this law does is it basically says you can't do it. So you can change your name, you can change a lot of other different items on your birth certificate, but you just can't change your gender. Which doesn't really mean anything, because when you are filing an application for your passport, gender's not there. It's not even needed. This law is specifically designed to try to limit the rights of transgender individuals, people who were born one way but identify as another and genetically feel like they should be something else, and they should have a right to do that. I'm sure it just gives them the ground to then discriminate against them in bathroom bills and other stuff. Yep.
If you can't change your birth certificate, then they can use the birth certificate as the ultimate authority on your sex. And then legislate against being able to enter a fucking disgusting bathroom. Like, I mean, I don't understand the sanctity of bathrooms. Like, I don't understand any of this debate. Like, women who want to feel protected in their bathrooms, going to a Walmart bathroom, I feel like there's the same level of fear that going to a park restroom is. Like, they don't have... Those security guards are looking for shoplifters. They're not looking to protect you in the fucking bathroom.
Exactly.
Okay, like, it's dangerous out there just by virtue of it being a public bathroom, I guess, even though it's not because it's a fucking public bathroom. Well, transgenders do not increase the danger level.
Exactly. Plus, one of the things I've heard a lot, and I've heard this from people I know, and I've also heard this from politicians, and things that people have said is like, oh, a transgender person, they just want to go in the women's bathroom because they want to see naked ladies and like be a perv or whatever. And it's like, here's the thing. If you're a transgender person or not, if you go into a bathroom and you assault somebody, the law should apply to everybody equally on that.
Oh, yeah.
So like if you sexually assault someone in a restroom, it doesn't fucking matter what your gender is. You sexually assaulted somebody and you should be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, period. It doesn't really matter what your gender is. Just doesn't, right? So, as a civil libertarian, I find this whole debate just ridiculous.
It's overregulation for no reason.
It is.
I'm like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to start making businesses have to have multiple bathrooms for men and women? And then are you going to, regulate them to have security guards if there's a certain number of people in the place?
So we have to have the potty police?
Yeah, and then are we going to have cameras in the fucking bathroom? Like, what the end goal of this makes no fucking sense. I don't agree with the way we do bathrooms in general. I mean, if there were fucking stalls outside with little drains, and I could just piss in them, that'd be great.
Yeah, or at a very minimum, you could just have 2 restrooms in any public facility that are single-use restroom only. Alongside, so like you could have your regular bathrooms, like a great example is Klipsch Music Center, which is this outside concert venue here in Indiana. They have like a piss trough. So does the state fairgrounds. They have a piss trough inside there, right? So here's the thing, like you could have all of those bathrooms, those big ass bathrooms for men and women, right? But you could have like 1 or 2 set aside that are gender neutral, that handy-capable people could use, or differently abled people could use, as well as transgender people. Or they can do whatever the fuck they want. I mean,
it's a fucking bathroom.
Because it's a fucking bathroom.
Get in, get out.
Why do you care?
Talk on the fucking phone if you need to. I don't care. Okay?
Why do you care so much about where trans people take a shit? Like, this is what I just don't understand that.
It's all about beginning registry process on people that you don't like. You need to be able to have the government records to identify them as the wrong gender. You need to then put in prohibitory laws so that you can tell them, hey, you need to go into this bathroom with a bunch of people who are going to probably assault you anyway. I mean, not probably assault you, but there's a higher likelihood that transgender male, male to female, going into a male bathroom is going to get, it's not going to be a pleasant shit, okay?
No. And
shits are already kind of not pleasant. I don't understand. Like, this is hitting you in your most intimate moments. If it's a big deal, just have stalls, lock stalls. Or it's in like every bathroom, like
or like those. Have you seen those like hilarious pictures? They're kind of funny, but they're also like really telling about like. My favorite one is this like trans man who has to go in the women's restroom, and he's like a big burly looking dude with like a cowboy hat on.
Yep.
He's got like a
the opposite
beard.
side.
And then there's like a lady behind him who's like this little old lady, like drying her hands at the thing. It's just fucking hilarious. It's like, what? Why is this a problem? It's because of people who fear what they don't understand, because they're clinging to that biblical morality. It's that religious morality again.
Yeah.
It's like you're not trying to understand it from the viewpoint of other people. You're just simply discriminating because you don't get it. And my whole thing is like, always been my thing. Like I said, as a civil libertarian, I just very much believe in people having as much civil liberty as possible. And one of the ways that you do that is no discrimination in public accommodations, and bathrooms are one of those things. I think maybe people who are so obsessed with this, maybe they need to figure out something in their own lives. Maybe they need to kind of not be so obsessed with shit that doesn't really affect them all that much.
I feel like the people who are expressing that, their wives are scared to go in there if they're transgender individuals, or the smaller percentage of women who actually complain about it, because I feel like there's a louder majority of male voices speaking on behalf of their wives' fears. I'm pretty sure you guys are already afraid going into public restrooms. Like, I'm pretty sure those are the people that avoid those like the plague, hold their fucking shit in until they get home, Like, they're already the people that are scared of public accommodations. So what are we protecting you from?
Exactly. And again, like, just to cap this, I mean, this is just another unnecessary law by somebody who may be a great Elvis impersonator. I've heard he's really good, but is kind of an idiot when it comes to these issues. And it's just a waste of time, right? Like, we have really problems with infrastructure in our state. Like, focus your fucking time on that.
Right.
Or the fact that you've constantly tried to undermine public education. Why don't you actually fix that? Or, how about the fact that we actually deal with our heroin epidemic here in the state? There's a thought.
I don't know if this is uncouth to say, but maybe since Elvis died in a bathroom, this guy thinks that this fight somehow, I don't know, honors his death, or I don't know,
Maybe. I don't know. Like I said,
we
folks,
can't really trust this guy.
Check out the article. Check out the article. See his picture. It's hilarious.
And I mean, if I saw him in a bathroom, I would probably walk out.
I would, yeah, because
he's not transgender. He's just fucking crazy looking.
He just looks like a nutso. Let us know if you liked the local issues episode. I think what we'll probably try to do with the podcast is maybe do a week where we do national stuff and a week where we do the weird local stuff, because I like the weird local stuff because it almost doesn't get a lot of play. The other thing is that Freedom Indiana right now has a petition that you can sign to stop this law. I highly encourage you to look up Freedom Indiana Trans Bill Petition 2017. Just look it up on Google and sign against this. It's just stupid. It's a violation of people's liberty, and it's just a waste of everybody's fucking time. So,
no doubt.
Until next week, this has been Justin Clark.
And this has been Jeremy Casey.
And this has been Secular Nation.